Waltzin' Matilda, waltzin' Matilda.
Shut up!
Crikey. So I'm making this recipe today in honor of Australia Day because I love my Australian cousins. I actually have Australian cousins. I got cousins that live in Australia, but hey, on this planet, we're all cousins. So today's Australia Day. My friend Maddie down in Brisbane wanted me to make this dish. It's called Pavlova, and it's a historical Australian dish. It actually was created for a Russian ballerina named Anna Pavlova, who came to Australia, and they made this fancy dessert for her, and it's amazing. It's beautiful. It's really cool how it comes together. We're going to make it today in honor of Australia Day. So let's get it done.
First thing we need to do is separate the yolks from the whites of 4 eggs. And we need the whites, not the yolks. Now, the reason why I'm doing this into a side bowl is because A, if the yolk breaks, I can prevent it from contaminating the rest, and if a piece of shell goes in, I can easily scoop it out. So make sure your bowls are very clean. You don't want any trace of fat or oil. You want to make sure they're very, very clean, both your bowls and your utensils. So separate the eggs. You can use an egg separator. You can use your hand. Everybody's got a little different system they like to use. I like to just plop them between the shells. It cuts that white perfectly, and you have a nicely separated egg. Use those yolks for something else. Make custard, mix it into some scrambled eggs. Don't waste it. But then once we have all 4 of our eggs separated, we're going to put that off to the side for a moment while we get prepared. So in a bowl of your stand mixer, make sure it's very clean. Again, very, very clean. Wipe it down with vinegar if need be. That'll take care of it. But you want to put your eggs into the bowl, and then we're going to add a half a teaspoon of cream of tartar. Cream of tartar, not tartar sauce. It's very inexpensive. You can find it in the spice aisle. It's common, even though you may not have it. But you definitely want this. It helps stabilize and helps give the right consistency. So don't skip out on this. We'll put that in. Then we're going to add the whisk attachment to our stand mixer. You can do this in a bowl with a hand mixer, by the way. It just takes a little bit longer. Don't forget a pinch of salt. Sprinkle that in. Then we're going to add our whisk attachment. Put that in. I'm going to start off on low speed just till it starts to incorporate, and then we can turn it up to like a medium high. You just don't want to crank it right up to high, and things splash. So once your eggs start getting foamy, we're going to start adding sugar. Now, 1 cup of fine granular sugar, not confectioner sugar. Confectioner sugar has cornstarch in it. We're going to add cornstarch later, but we want to control the amount. So tablespoon by tablespoon, add it in. A little hint to get fine ground sugar. If you have a food processor, throw the cup of sugar in there and just let it run for a couple minutes, and it'll chop it down to a fine consistency. But you don't want to just dump this in. You want to do it little by little. So tablespoon at a time, let it mix, tablespoon, add. And we're going to whip this until it goes to what we call a stiff peaks consistency, which you'll see in a second. It literally peaks up stiffly, as it were. So before it's done, we're going to want to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Use the best you can find and afford. That's always important. Come on, Raj. Cue the vanilla. There we go. All the sugar's in, the vanilla's in. We're going to whip this up. It's mesmerizing to watch this, really. So here we go. We're at a stiff peaks kind of consistency. Pop this off just to show you. Scoop a little up. You see how the peaks just stand up. They don't collapse. They kind of stand up on their own and defy gravity. That's what we're looking for. So once we have that, we're going to use a spatula. Don't bang it against the bowl, you moron. No, seriously, you don't want to bang it because that'll cause some of the air to come out. So use a spatula, get the excess off your whisk. Just like that. And just remember, this is raw egg, so you really don't want to lick it. We're going to add 1 1/2 teaspoon of cornstarch, corn flour, whatever you want to call it. We're going to put that in, and then we're just going to fold it in. We don't want to keep whipping it. This is going to help keep that marshmallowy consistency on the inside. The way this bakes up, you have a hard shell on the outside that's crispy and crunchy and delicious, and then you have a soft marshmallowy inside. It's really quite extraordinary. So fold that in. Now, we're going to set up our parchment paper. So find a circular object, like a plate or something, that's approximately 7 to 8 inches in diameter. And we're going to trace that out on one side of the parchment. Just like that. And that'll kind of be a template for setting up our meringue. Just like that. Flip it over. Ta-da! Now, I forgot to record this part, but on the bottom side of the parchment, put a little dab of meringue. That'll help hold it down, especially like me, if you're going to bake it on convection. You don't want the fan blowing up those corners of the paper and letting it hit your meringue cake. So get that done. Now just dump out your meringue onto that circle, and using the circle will give you the size you need. So spread it out, form it. We whip this to stiff peaks, so it's going to hold its shape. And you kind of want the center of it to be a little flatter with a little bit of a rim around the outside, if that makes sense. You can run your spatula up like that and give some decoration, make it look pretty. This is a very pretty dessert. So take your time, don't rush, and you want to get this as pretty as possible. It will puff up just a little bit as it bakes, by the way. Just a little bit, not much. There we go, that's so pretty. Look at that. All right, now it's all set. It's time to bake it.
All right, so it went into the oven. It's going to cook for an hour and a half, and then we got to let it sit pretty much until the oven comes up to room temperature. So you got to be patient, but trust me, your patience is going to be rewarded.
So when it comes out of the oven, you'll notice, hey, this is cracked. What's going on? That's supposed to happen. That's normal. That's normal. It's cool. That's going to get covered up with whipped cream. It's all right. It happens to everybody's Pavlova. That's part of the whole thing. So the next thing we have to do is probably the most dangerous part of this operation, and that's to transfer it off of the parchment. This is my first Pav. I've never made this before, so I had no clue exactly what I was doing. So I needed to be able to figure out how to get that off the paper and onto that plate without completely destroying it. And after some scientific analysis, I determined to free it up using a spatula, which I probably should have done while it was on the sheet pan. Not a big deal. It ended up okay. This doesn't really, even though it's sticky, it doesn't really stick to the parchment. That's what parchment's kind of for. So once it's loose, I just kind of held it in place with my hand and slid the paper out from underneath, and there you go. Again, you see those big cracks? Don't worry about those cracks. It's normal. We got to make whipped cream, which is what we're doing here. So in the bowl of your stand mixer that you've cleaned because you're not a slob, we're going to add 2 cups or 1 pint of heavy whipping cream. To that, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract, and then 1/4 cup of powdered sugar. You can use confectioner sugar for this. That's fine. You don't have to worry about running it through the food processor again. That's fine. I'm going to start off slow, and then we're going to increase the speed and let this whip again until you're at almost a stiff peaks consistency. I like my whipped cream a little on the stiffer side, so that's the way I went with it. Just like that. It holds its shape, it's thick, it's creamy, it's sweet, it's delicious. Now it's time to apply this to the Pavlova. So we're just going to add a nice topping of whipped cream. We're going to fill in those cracks. It's going to all come together. So gently, because you don't want to break your cake. Someone did leave the cake out in the rain at one point in time. It was in MacArthur Park. So just fill it up with the whipped cream. That's it. It's not difficult. Make it pretty. Fill in the gaps. And the colors are very close. And now we top it with fruit. You can use whatever kind of fruit you want. Apparently fruits that are more on the tart side are good. So, you know, berries are good. Kiwi fruit is normal. Strawberries, blackberries. I was going to put blueberries on, but I kind of ran out of room. Mango, fruits like that. Make it pretty. This is all about a presentation. We'll throw some blackberries on there because blackberries are delicious and they look good. Look at this. I'm learning to be a food artist. I mean, I wouldn't call myself an artist. I'm kind of terrible. Now, here's the key. When you cut into it, it's going to crack. I've learned that Pavlova only needs to be pretty until it's presented. Once it's presented, all bets are off. It's going to become a mess, and it's delicious, and that's kind of part of the fun. So we'll plate this up as carefully as we can to try and keep some sort of a neat and clean appearance so I don't look like the savage that I truly am. And I'm not ashamed of that. Look at how awesome that looks. That is so delicious. It's time to stuff it in our face. I can't wait.
Look at that. Get a 360 if we can. It's like light and fluffy. It's got the whipped cream. It's got the fruit. It's got a crunchy outer shell. The inside's like marshmallow fluff. Whipped cream. This is so cool. I've never even had this, let alone made it. So let's give it a tasty taste. Try without the fruit. That's ridiculous. Holy cow. That's like, we'll get one more shell. Holy shit. I didn't say a bad word. So there you go. Pavlova. It's not really hard to make. Take some time. 100% worth it. You can make this for any holiday. Make this for a summer barbecue. You just got to remember the little tips and hints and tricks that I gave you during the video. So if you missed that, go back and rewatch it. Maddie, by the way, is my buddy from Brisbane, Australia. He had me make the Anzac biscuits last year. I'm going to post the link somewhere. It'll be up here. All right, so check that out. It's delicious as well. They're cookies, as we call them in America. They're biscuits over there. Anyway, if you tried this out, if you like this, if you've had this, drop it down in the comments. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on it. If you like this video, smash that like button. If you hate this video, smash the like button. If you hate me, you want to tell me about it, drop it down in the comments. That's cool. You want to suggest something, drop that down in the comments. Please subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate you watching. We'll catch you on the next one.